The first time the tires tore across Ethan Cole's dirt lane, the sound shattered the quiet rhythm of his farm. No one in the valley imagined that a single shortcut would ignite a conflict that would end in a twist the entire county would talk about. Ethan stood near his weathered barn at sunrise, watching dust settle behind a speeding SUV disappearing beyond his fields. The lane cutting through his property was never meant for public use. It was a narrow path his father carved decades earlier to reach the back pasture, but recently, drivers had begun using it to avoid the long paved road around the valley. The worst offender was a woman in a white luxury SUV. She sped through every morning, scattering gravel, frightening livestock, and leaving deep ruts that turned mud into hazards after rain. Neighbors shrugged. "She's in a hurry," they said. "Probably just passing through." But Ethan saw the damage accumulating: broken fence posts, stressed cattle, soil erosion along the path his family had protected for generations. When he tried to wave her down one morning, she didn't slow. Instead, she accelerated. Dust swallowed him whole as she vanished beyond the hill. And in that cloud of dirt, Ethan realized something had to change. Within weeks, the shortcut became a daily disturbance. Tires carved grooves through the soil, and the once smooth lane transformed into a scar across Ethan's land. Chickens scattered at the sound of engines. Horses grew restless. Even the old windmill creaked as if protesting the intrusion. One morning, Ethan finally stopped the white SUV by parking his tractor across the path. The driver stepped out, dressed sharply, sunglasses perched with deliberate confidence. She introduced herself as Karen Whitmore, president of the nearby homeowners association. "This road saves me 15 minutes, she said coolly. "It's not hurting anything." Ethan gestured to the damaged ground and trembling fence posts. He explained calmly that the lane was private farm access, not a public road. Karen smiled politely, but impatience lingered beneath her tone. She insisted previous owners allowed passage and that community convenience mattered. Ethan refused. The next morning, tire tracks cut around his tractor. By afternoon, they were deeper than before, and by the end of the week, he understood that politeness alone would not protect his land. Ethan installed wooden posts along the lane's entrance, leaving just enough space for his equipment to pass. The barrier stood simple and respectful, a clear message without confrontation. At sunrise, the posts lay snapped and tossed aside. Fresh tire tracks tore through the grass. He repaired them. They were broken again. Neighbors admitted seeing Karen's SUV entering before dawn, slipping through fog like a silent trespasser. Frustration simmered beneath Ethan's calm exterior, but anger would only escalate the conflict. He began documenting the damage instead: photographs, timestamps, and repair costs carefully logged in a worn notebook. The farm had survived storms, droughts, and market collapses. Losing control of his own land to impatience felt more personal than any hardship before. One evening, he sat on the porch reviewing local property laws. The county website outlined access rights, liability risks, and protections for agricultural landowners. One clause caught his attention: landowners were permitted to install protective measures to ensure safety and prevent unauthorized vehicle access. He closed the laptop slowly. If she refused to respect the boundary, he would create one she could not ignore. The following weekend, a surveyor arrived to mark the exact boundary lines of Ethan's property. Bright flags dotted the earth, tracing a clear perimeter where uncertainty once lingered. Karen drove past slowly that morning, her expression tightening as she noticed the markers. 2 days later, Ethan began installation. Heavy wooden beams anchored into the ground. Steel brackets reinforced the structure. Reflective safety panels ensured visibility from a distance. It wasn't a gate, it wasn't a fence, it was a reinforced agricultural vehicle barrier designed to protect livestock crossings, fully compliant with county safety codes. When complete, the lane remained open for tractors and emergency vehicles but blocked high-speed traffic entirely. The structure looked simple, almost modest, yet its purpose was unmistakable. That evening, Karen's SUV approached at speed. As always, brake lights flashed suddenly. Dust settled in uneasy silence. For the first time, the shortcut had ended, but the conflict was far from over. The following morning, Ethan found a formal notice taped to his mailbox citing obstruction of a commonly used access route. The HOA demanded removal within 10 days. He responded with county documentation, survey records, and safety compliance codes. Days passed without reply. Instead, a tow truck arrived, followed by 2 contractors examining the barrier. Ethan met them at the lane and calmly explained the legal protections in place. They left within minutes. Word spread quickly through the valley. Some residents admitted they had relied on the shortcut for years. Others sympathized with Ethan's right to protect his land. At the next community meeting, tensions surfaced openly. Discussions turned from convenience to respect, from speed to safety, from shortcuts to responsibility. Karen defended efficiency and neighborhood access. Ethan spoke quietly about livestock safety and property stewardship. The room fell silent. For the first time, people saw not a dispute, but a question: who decides where boundaries matter? Autumn winds swept across the valley as weeks passed without resolution. The barrier remained in place, reflecting golden afternoon light and standing firm against pressure. Traffic patterns shifted. Drivers returned to the paved road. Dust no longer drifted across Ethan's pastures. One evening, Karen arrived alone, her vehicle stopping at the barrier. She stepped out slowly, studying the reinforced beams and reflective panels. "I didn't realize the damage," she admitted. Ethan nodded. He spoke about frightened animals, eroded soil, and liability risks if an accident occurred on private land. The conversation held no sharp edges, now only understanding forming where frustration once lived. Karen explained the daily pressures of commuting and community expectations. Ethan explained the responsibility of protecting land passed through generations. Silence settled between them, but it felt different this time, not tense, respectful. Winter approached, and the valley grew quieter than it had been in months. Snow dusted the barrier, outlining its shape like a quiet symbol of restored balance. The HOA formally recognized the lane as private agricultural access and updated community maps to prevent future misuse. Clear signage redirected drivers to the main road. Karen spoke at the next meeting, emphasizing respect for landowners and the importance of shared responsibility within the community. Ethan watched from the back of the room, relieved not by victory, but by resolution. On a calm morning weeks later, he walked the lane with his dog trotting beside him. The soil had settled. Grass began to return. The farm felt whole again. The barrier remained, not as a wall, but as a reminder that boundaries protect more than property. They protect peace, they protect livelihood, they protect respect between neighbors, and sometimes, the strongest solutions are the quiet ones no one sees coming. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.